Now, from the playing fields of America's iconic national game, a spotlight shone not on sport, but on domestic violence. The National Football League is struggling to restore its reputation after a star player, Ray Rice of the Baltimore Ravens, was shown on video punching his wife. Big sponsors are expressing concern at the slow response of the game's bosses. And now 3 more players have been suspended after allegations of abuse. In a moment, the hidden nightmare that's suddenly turned very public. But first, our Washington correspondent Kylie Morris reports. And just to warn you, her report does show some images of violence.
Here's the running back. Play action fake, over the top they go, and it's a touchdown.
Until last week, Ray Rice was on a $35 million contract, the star running back for one of the American Football League's top teams. He had all the moves.
Rice stays on his feet. Oh, Ray Rice! Incredible!
He was fast and he was strong. Off the field, he was strong too. Strong enough to drag his unconscious fiancée from a lift after they'd had a fight in a casino in Atlantic City in February. Still, the charges were dropped, and Ray Rice married his fiancée Janae a month later. Even then, under some pressure, the Football League organised a press conference for the couple to make amends.
And my wife is here, and I just want to thank her for loving me where I was weak and building up where I was strong.
I love Ray, and I know he will continue to prove himself to not only you all, but the community, and I know he will gain your respect back in due time.
Come the summer, the league told Rice just to sit out 2 games, effectively sweeping another case of domestic violence under the carpet. But then there was this footage from inside the lift posted last week on a celebrity website, in which Rice clearly knocks out Janae with a single punch to the face, then drags her out. It revealed the full horror of Rice's abuse, and everything changed. Suddenly, sponsors of America's richest game, like the makeup company CoverGirl, found their online campaign subverted. And the NFL quickly changed its mind, suspending Rice indefinitely, cancelling his contract.
Domestic violence is not a private issue. It is very much a societal issue. And yes, the NFL has a higher set of responsibilities regarding domestic violence than perhaps others do.
Why is that?
As the wealthiest and most powerful and most popular sports organization in the United States of America, the NFL has a special responsibility to behave in a responsible way.
For many, though, this isn't about sport or money. It's about a violence that's far more personal. In the wake of the video's release, thousands of women have posted Twitter testimonies organised under the hashtags #WhyIStayed and #WhyILeft, revealing their experiences of domestic violence. Despite it all, on a street corner in Baltimore, Ray Rice is still a hero.
It's unfair for him because he's human just like we are. And to me, everybody gets hit on behind closed doors, you know. We don't know what goes on between closed doors in anybody's home.
When you're in a relationship and you argue with your female spouse, sometimes you put your hands on her, let her know, calm your little ass down.
He knocked her out.
And she still love him and they still together.
The team is our neighborhood. We bleed purple and black. So, I mean, I'm not with it. They need to let my man come back. Ray Rice need to come back.
The Ray Rice scandal has now grown well beyond the Baltimore Ravens, beyond Baltimore. There's a national conversation around domestic violence. But the worry is that's not because Ray Rice knocked out his girlfriend inside a lift. That's because Ray Rice was caught on video knocking out his girlfriend. America is now face to face with the violence institutions like football have done their best to keep hidden for years.
Are you sorry this happened?
And the season's just begun. Overnight, another star player, Jonathan Dwyer, arrested, suspected of assaulting his wife and son. There's no keeping it quiet now.
Well, joining me now from Washington is Jackie Speier, a Democrat congresswoman who's lobbying the NFL for a change in their domestic violence policy. And from North Carolina, Bev Gooden, a survivor of domestic violence who started the Twitter campaign in support of victims. Bev Gooden, first, what made you start that campaign on Twitter?
Well, when the video came out, the overwhelming response was asking Janae Rice why she stayed, you know, asking her to justify why she chose what she chose, instead of pointing the finger at the person who committed the crime. So it's like we're asking victims to explain themselves for a crime against them. And so, you know, having been through an abusive marriage myself, I related to her. You know, I stayed with my ex-husband until I left. And so I wanted to give a voice to the survivors, to the people who felt the need that they had to explain themselves for the crimes against them, and I wanted to give them a voice. So I started the Why I Stayed hashtag just to explain the complexities of a domestic violence situation.
How hard was it for you to use your own voice to speak out about what had happened to you?
It was very difficult. It was really the first time that I had gone into any detail about it. You know, now my family knows it happened. It happened 4 years ago. And so now the world knows. And that was kind of difficult, but I felt the need to stand up for Janae Rice, for survivors of domestic violence, because everyone was pointing the finger at them, asking them to explain themselves. And I didn't feel that was right.
Jackie Speier, is it more troubling that it's taken the NFL so long to respond to all this, or are you encouraged by the public response, in particular to Bev Gooden's campaign?
I actually think that if a spotlight hadn't been placed on the NFL and if that video hadn't come out, this issue would continue to be one that was ignored by the NFL and swept under the rug. So their history is not a good one. Under Roger Goodell, they've had 56 players that have been charged with domestic violence, and their total penalty for all of those amounted to 13 suspended games. In some cases, they didn't even get a fine. Some of these were repeat offenders, I might add. So we have a serious problem, not just in the NFL, but in this country, where domestic violence affects about a third of the population of women in this country.
Well, Bev Gooden, I saw you nodding in agreement with that, but those figures are pretty shocking, aren't they? What do you think about the way the NFL has conducted itself in this?
I mean, I think they've handled it terribly. It took a video, you know, for the world to see, for them to even really jump into action, any serious action. And I feel like it lessens the severity of the domestic violence issue when it should be, you know, there's a domestic violence situation. We are taking action right now, regardless of whether or not there's public outcry.
Well, Jackie Speier, ultimately, was this about the money? Was this about, you know, a sport trying to keep its lucrative players on the pitch and, you know, turning a blind eye to something as serious as domestic violence?
Of course it's about the money. And the only reason why, frankly, I think they're addressing it is because a lot of the sponsors now are thinking, well, do we really want to be sponsoring this team or sponsoring this player? And you've seen a number of sponsors actually cancel their contracts. If you look at the NFL, it is among the richest companies, so to speak, in the country. It tops out, it's within the top 105 companies. And if you look at Roger Goodell, he's just under the top 10 in terms of salary. So it's all about money here.
What do you hope to achieve by holding this congressional hearing that you're having?
Well, I think one of the things we need to do is look at the tax-exempt status which the NFL enjoys. Only 3 sports activities, PGA, that's their golf association, and the National Hockey League enjoy that. None of the other sports authorities enjoy that. I think we need to look at issues like steroid use, because there really is a link between, I believe, domestic violence and what's called roid rage. And I don't think that the NFL has been serious about testing for the use of growth hormones like they have changed in Major League Baseball. I also think we need to look at traumatic brain injury and the fact that so many of these players find out that once they retire, their lives are truly, they're very disabled in terms of the way they can conduct their lives.
Bev Gooden, Ray Rice has still got a lot of support, hasn't he? I mean, you might have heard the people speaking in that piece. Really, you know, he's got a big fan base still. Does that disturb you?
Well, they all have fan bases.
It doesn't disturb me. I mean, it kind of speaks to...
Sorry, go ahead, Bev.
Yeah, I think it speaks to, you know, the way that society views domestic violence. Even the NFL itself doesn't punish domestic violence issues as severely as they do, you know, a marijuana, you know, case or anything like that. And so the support just kind of goes both ways. The NFL isn't taking it seriously enough, and so society may not take it seriously enough. And we just need 360 degrees of accountability from society, from the law, and from the NFL.
Jackie Speier, the law has got to change in terms of your comparison of domestic violence punishments and marijuana punishments.
I'm sorry, the question again?
Has the law got to change given that you get off more lightly for marijuana possession than you do for domestic violence, according to Bev Gooden?
Well, what happens with domestic violence for the most part, if it's a first offense, there is a diversion program. And then oftentimes you can have it expunged from your record if you complete the diversion program. We might need to look at that. I mean, it's a violent crime. We have a judge in Alabama right now that has a situation very similar to many of these NFLers, and you know, he should resign or be impeached in my view. I think in the end what we need to do is put more resources into training and educating and into battered women's shelters.
Okay, Bev Gooden and Jackie Speier, thank you very much for joining me.